podium to put my notes on, which are upside down. And I want to let you know that I won't be using the notes hardly at all because I can't read them, because I can't read my writing, plus I'm wearing trifocals and they just be reading them. So I wanted to just tell you a little bit about myself and how I got involved in Conduit for Action and a little bit about what Conduit for Action is. I work for the legislature. As soon as I got out of law school, I went directly to work for the legislature. That was in September of 1980. I stayed there for 32 years. I ended up being the director of the Bureau of Legislative Research for 6 years and really enjoyed the job. But I was also traveling 2 hours north to a place called Ash Flat. It's in Sharp County, close to Cherokee Village, north of Batesville, if that helps. Family has a farm up there, about 800 acres. Been in the family since 1860, and I grew up in the place, and I was taking care of it, and I decided, you know, I could live on a lot less money and be a lot happier if we moved up there. So that everything was great, living up there and taking care of cattle and building fences. And one day I got a call from a woman named Brenda Vassar-Taylor. Says, there's a Tea Party group I'm working with that wants to have a speaker on the Arkansas Constitution. Is there any way you could help us? And the answer was no, but we ended up on the phone for about 45 minutes and said, we want to meet with you because we got this project. Brenda Vassar-Taylor is a tax attorney in Fayetteville, and her partner in this Conduit organization is Joe Maynard. He is a businessman, has aircraft parts facility, and they're both very involved. And they decided, looking around, that there were a lot of good conservative groups out there supporting a lot of social issues. We have some excellent people helping protect us, make sure our gun rights are protected. We have good people trying to promote pro-life bills. And over the years, you mentioned Jerry Cox. I worked with him for so many years when he would come in with his bills, and I really enjoy what he does and how much work he does and how much grief he gets. Anyway, those type social issues have been covered. What has not been covered is some of the fiscal side. And what we discovered was that a lot of the fiscal issues have a big impact on our policies, and when you try to fight some issues, you're going to have a hard time winning because, well, you heard the J.G. Wentworth commercial? It's my money and I want it now. I need it now. That's what your legislature says. When the government says, oh, we've got some money, but you're going to have to do this and that, they say, I need it now. So, fiscal side of it is a very big thing of what we try to do. It was formed because they also realized that as far as businesses go, your Walmarts and your big businesses, your hospitals and all that, they have great associations. They're taken care of. But the mom and pop folks, the folks that want to start a business, there's nobody looking out for them. There's very few people looking out for them. So we wanted to try to come up with legislation and advocacy that would help small business folks and also promote liberty among our citizens. That's the mission. So it's kind of go from the social issue that everybody wants to deal with, the less glamorous, let's take care of our budget so we can provide for our children and grandchildren. When I began working with them, the legislature had already passed a private option. And we tried to help some legislators who was trying to stop it. And their basic thing was it takes a 75% majority to get funding for it. We can stop this with 25 people in the House or a third of the Senate. And So we basically provided them with information, ammunition, and articles that we would put out to try to show the problems in private option. If you're not very familiar with it, private option is nothing but Obamacare Medicaid expansion. Always before on Medicaid, it was directed to people who were disabled and gravely, they were in need, they were chronically, some kind of chronic condition. Suddenly with Medicaid expansion, the primary target group based on population ended up being able-bodied, working age adults with no children, no dependents. So that's the group. Policy-wise, welcome. Hey, how you doing? Just saw you earlier. So policy-wise, there never would have been any private option Medicaid expansion in Arkansas but for free federal money, which we know is not free. It comes from us and it comes from China. It's just more debt for children and grandchildren. And then they changed the name so it didn't say Obamacare anymore. Now they called it private option. So it passed. So we continue to be involved. We're involved helping, trying to educate people as the elections came in. And it has been our primary bill to work on just because of how big it is. This private option, we were looking at it, and the government's own estimates is going to start talking about 2017 or 2020 is going to cost something like $333 million a year, which that's not chump change when you consider that the state police budget might be 50, 60 million. So you're talking about a major hit. Education couldn't be reduced because of the Lakeview decision. But the rest of the government, the rest of the services were going to be a big hit, or there was going to be a big tax. So that's where we were, and we thought that with the elections, there was going to be quite a few people who would be able to come through and say, we're not funding this anymore. Instead, all that was derailed. There was a bill that said it was going to repeal the private option. What it does is it just lets it continue on until the end of 2016, just like it was going to, and set up a committee, a task force, to look at the issue. Except that the primary duty of the task force is to figure out a way to continue coverage for Medicaid expansion. We created a task force of 16 members, and nearly all, not all, but nearly all the members voted for Medicaid expansion. So how do you think that's going to come out? Now I didn't intend to spend as much time on private option because this is basically a dedicated session, but I want to give you my prognostication of what will happen with the task force. Number one, they're going to go in and look for ways to save state money in Medicaid, and they're going to look for ways to save it in welfare, and we're all going to be happy about that. Well, they've had reports in the past that already told them ways to save millions and millions of dollars, but they weren't interested in it. They want to get this private option passed. So what's going to happen? My prognostication is they're going to say, look at all this money we saved. Now we're going to fund Medicaid expansion with it. We're not going to give it back to you. They're not going to save the budget. They're going to use it for Medicaid expansion. Then they're going to do a law change, which means they will end up, my prognostication is that they will wait until after the elections, or at least after the filings for primaries, and come back with some special session to come with some other form, some new name for Medicaid expansion. Anyway, that's where we've been, but it's such a small piece of what we do. This last election cycle, well, let me tell you, there's sister organizations, or Conduit for Commerce, which is the basic organization promoting small business and business-friendly atmosphere. There's Conduit for Action that I'm in charge of, which deals with legislative issues. there is another organization called Conduit in Action. It's like they couldn't pay for any more words. Everything had to be conduit for something. So Conduit in Action, what they did is they went out and raised money and donated it to conservative candidates. And they assisted candidates in their campaigns. And then there's another arm that deals with legal matters that can actually be like a defense fund. Conduit for Action's part, where I was, we did not get involved in the campaigns in advocating for a candidate. But we did something that really slaps the folks in the face. A lot of the liberals who come to Little Rock pass all kinds of liberal laws and go back home and say, I'm conservative. I voted for guns, I voted against abortion, or at least someone would say that, and we've got a balanced budget. And I'm going to talk about that balanced budget. But they didn't tell you about all the other votes, and they didn't tell you that there's just very few, even Democrats, that vote against the Second Amendment bill. So they pretended to be this conservative. So I just exposed their record. I said, ask so-and-so about their liberal record. Ask them about voting against voter ID. Ask them about walking out and being seen on video, walking out on the abortion bills when there's trying to be ask them about voting for Common Core 2 and 3 times on different bills, and just on down the road. So I sort of drew back the curtain on what they were actually doing, and I don't understand why, but they didn't like that very much. But out of those, I think there was maybe 12 races, and I think 11 of them, the conservative won. I can't take any of that credit. Now, Conduit in Action did a lot of work for it. But anyway, we're looking for conservatives, and that's where we are.